And you're carrying it on, the Penguin
Yeah, we start.
HBO Max?
Yeah, I'm starting. Fuck.
Like this month?
Jesus.
February?
Yeah, like 3 weeks or something.
Wow.
I know. I got
What possessed you to want to go in, jump in after doing that movie, go into a series on that character?
Greed. Greed. Financial greed. No.
Do you know what you used to be?
No, Pádraig, what did I used to be?
Nice. You used to be nice. Didn't you not? And now, do you know what you are? Not nice.
Ah, well, I suppose niceness doesn't last then, does it, Pádraig? But will I tell you something that does last?
What? And don't say something stupid like music.
Music lasts.
Knew it!
And paintings last. And poetry lasts.
So does niceness.
Do you know who we remember for how nice they was in the 17th century?
Who?
Absolutely no one. Yet we all remember the music of the time. Everyone to a man knows Mozart's name.
Well, I don't, so there goes that theory. And anyway, we're talking about niceness. Not what's his name. My mammy, she was nice. I remember her. And my daddy, he was nice. I remember him. And my sister, she's nice. I'll remember her. Forever, I'll remember her.
Welcome to the Actor's Side today. Well, I think he's in every movie I've seen this year so far. You have been busy, Colin Farrell, from, of course, his Oscar-nominated and much awarded and praised performance in The Banshees of Inisherin, to The Batman, to 13 Lives, on and on with your work here. It's really extraordinary. Welcome to the Actor's Side.
Thanks, Pete.
Did they all just come out at once? Or?
Yeah. I haven't been having the head down that much. I've had loads of time off and stuff. I did them over a 2-year period. And for some reason, it seems like this was all done in 1 year, but it wasn't,
That's amazing. Yeah. How do you feel like that as an actor, to see all this work land in a single year?
Only when I'm told about it, to be honest, by others, did I realize that it seems like it's been
I left out After Yang, too.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Actually, I saw...
Which very few people saw, which was a shame, because I love Kogonada as a... Did you ever meet him or talk to him?
I have not met him.
Oh, he's lovely.
Yeah.
I'd love him, I think, because he's just the most thoughtful, and he has just an incredible kind of erudition in regards to film and film history. And he, it was his second feature. You saw Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, no?
It's great.
I loved Columbus, and it's
Is that what made you want to work with him?
Yeah. He's such a gentle filmmaker, and he's not in any way didactic. You know, he just he presents these very kind of humane but profound themes, but in the most gentle way. So what I found when I watched Columbus was that the film wasn't coming towards me. I was kind of ever more leaning into how deeply personal the story was, but it was all kind of in whispered tones, and it felt so naturalistic and real. And then when I read After Yang, I was blown away by what he had done with that. I loved working with Kay. Hope to do something with him, maybe the end of this year again, maybe.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, because After Yang, actually, I saw in 2021. It was at film festivals, but got released this year. So they all March, Batman, and that movie, and then 13 Lives, and then Banshees.
I know, it looks like you'll probably never see me children. So usually, ideally you go to work, whatever it is, 3 or 4 or 5 months, and then you're not you're obviously working whatever the working day is, but you're away from home, you're in hotels, and you miss your family, you miss your friends and all that stuff. And then you get 3 months off in between jobs, and then everyone that you love is sick of looking at you by the end of that 3 months, and then off you go again. So it was over 2 years those 4 films were done.
Exactly. And how do you feel about all of this awards attention and what you're getting here? It's extraordinary. You're running the table. You're winning at the New York Critics and the National Board of Review and the National Society of Critics and the Golden Globes. Oscar first, it's amazing to me this is only your first Oscar nomination, quite frankly.
It's amazing to me that I have one at all. Honest to God. I don't feel like I worked any harder or applied myself any more on Banshees than I did on various other films through the years. It's just each project asks different things of you, of course. Yeah. And Martin's stuff is quite demanding. His material is quite demanding. But it's it's nice. It's nice to be in nice. I'm hearing Banshees. Nice, I'm nice. It is. It's lovely because I've been saying this ad nauseum. It sounds like a party line, but honest to God, over 20, 25 years I've been an actor. The films don't always work.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people as well that say the Banshees doesn't work, so nothing ever works 100% across the board. But I've been in films that really the majority of people thought didn't work, and that's happened a number of times in my career, and I've still been grateful for the work and stuff.
Yeah.
But to be in something that the response is so it's so kind of majoritively positive, you know, both with audiences and critically, and all this attention now for everyone as well. Like Barry got a nomination, Brendan of course got a nomination, Kerry,
Right.
you know, Carter Burwell. The film got 9 nominations. I get giddy. I mean, I'm still, you know, long before I was an actor, I was a fan of films from the time I was very young. Like they
Right.
meant a lot to me. And if I ever give up acting, I will go to my grave as a fan of films, and they'll always mean a lot to me. So to be at, to be in the Kodak Theatre and have clips from a film I'm in, Best Picture is nearly the best part of it,
Yeah.
rather than getting an actor nod. Being in a film that's
Yeah.
considered as Best Picture, and then to see a little, you know, kind of montage of scenes from that film and stuff, just bizarre to me. It's quite surreal, really.
It's so cool.
It's quite surreal, man, and I don't look.
Yeah.
You know, we all know what the important things, as I've said before, in life are. Like,
Yeah.
the really important stuff. It's not this. News flash. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm just enjoying it as well for the brief moment in time that it is. Just,
Yeah.
you know, and my youngest kid particularly is getting a real kick out of it.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, and he'll be my +1. Yeah, so we're getting him dickied up in a
That's
tuxie.
great.
Yeah, man, so I'll take him
They're
to...
only giving Colin Farrell a +1. Come on.
No, they're giving me a few more. There might be a couple of heads flying over from Ireland as well. And my mother
Sure.
might be in a fancy dress and all that kind of stuff. But the one that'll be to my side is Junior. He'll be
that's
my
very
+1. So we're trying to just enjoy it in that way and not
Yeah.
get too serious about it or anything. You know, it's a lovely time. Look, it's a lovely time.
Speaking of that night and nominations, there's another nomination very close to you. The 2 mics from the Batman are up for
Oh, yeah.
makeup and hairstyling for, I think, the Penguin,
Yeah, man.
essentially here.
Yeah. There's no film I've ever done that I can claim as little ownership for the totality of whatever character I played as on that one.
Really?
I mean, yeah, honest to God, no faux humility there. No humility, just as far as I've experienced it, a fact.
Right.
Because, I mean, it wouldn't have... I would have gone to work as a closer to this than what Oz was in the film. I would have made something up and I would have designed whatever and had a good time doing it, I'm sure. But when I saw what Mike Marino had designed, when I saw the visage that he had went into his studio and carved and went to bed and looked at old pictures and went in and carved and went to bed. And he did it over a period of I don't know how long. But when he finally finished every scar, every pock mark, the chin, the whole thing, and I saw it, and I was in Matt Reeves' office in London.
Right.
And Matt said, "You been talking to Mike?" And I said, "I have, yeah." And he said, "Did he send you what Oz is going to look like?" And I said, "No." And he said, "You want to see?" And I said, "Of course." And he said, "Come here." And he had one of those laptops. You might have heard of them. And he opened it, and I saw the thing for the first time, and I was a bit confused.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so overwhelming. I had no idea we were going to go in that direction. Because I know some people are like, well, why didn't they just cast a bigger actor or an actor that looks more like that? When I was cast, that was not the plan.
Right.
Mike Marino said, "I have some thoughts. Just let me design."
Wow.
Straight
That's
up.
Really interesting.
That wasn't like Matt Reeves has an extraordinary mind, an extraordinary imagination, is just a brilliant, brilliant writer. But that was all Mike.
Wow.
And Mike sent it, and I'm sure Mike was a little bit like, I wonder what they're going to say, you know. Matt fell in love with it. As soon as I saw it, I was shocked, and I thought, this is so exciting.
Does that change you as an actor there? You're looking at that creation, you suddenly are looking at
When I put it on, we had a day where we did the first whole, because there were different, there was the teeth, there was, the hair was a different department almost, the bodysuit was another department, and I had met everyone and met Mike and had meetings with everyone, and then when we finally brought it all together, was on the Warner Brothers lot one day, and it took about 7 hours, and when it all came on and came together, I'd already been working with a dialect coach for about 2 months, so I kind of knew-ish what the sound was going to be, and then when the whole thing went on, I swear to God, man, it was like witchcraft. It was so, it was just, it just came alive. It was
That's
so
amazing.
exciting. It was one of the most exciting days I'd ever had in 20 years of being an actor. That day in Warner Brothers, which was about 2 or 3 months before we started shooting in London.
Wow.
And yeah, all that to say, honest to God, like, you know, yes, I take credit for operating the marionette. But if you don't have a good marionette, the operation doesn't really matter, you know. So Mike Marino, yeah, he did extraordinary. I would love to see him, and Mike Fontaine, of course, as well. I would love to see the two of them get it. But you know, just to be up there and be classified with your fellow artists, actors, musicians, whatever it may be, is a cool thing.
It's great, and you're carrying it on. The Penguin.
Yeah, we start.
HBO Max.
Yeah, we're starting. Fuck.
Like this month,
Jesus.
February.
Yeah, like 3 weeks or something.
Wow.
I know. I got
What possessed you to want to go in, jump in after doing that movie, go into a series on that character?
Greed. Greed. Financial greed. No. Financial greed. Creative greed. I had so much fun doing it. Like, honest to God, I had so much fun playing, just inhabiting that character. And it was, I thought, it was the result of the experience was kind of a counterintuitive thing, because I thought that it would be limiting. I thought being beneath so much makeup would be a limitation, it would be confining, and it was totally the opposite. Like mask, kind of Jungian mask work is, there was an absolute sense of immediate liberation, because my face was so buried that I was just, you know, the bridle was off. And so I remember saying to Matt and to Dylan Clark, the producer of the film, when we were doing it in London, I wish I had more scenes. I just wanted more scenes, because I was just having so much fun. It was the tip of the iceberg, pardon the pun. And so yeah, so now that we're doing, I think we're going to do 8 hours
That's
for HBO.
so exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. And I've read the first 5 scripts, and they're brilliant.
Oh my God.
They're brilliant. Lauren LaFranc is writing them, and she's the showrunner as well. And so we'll see.
It's amazing.
3 weeks,
And then to have, before we get into Banshees, I have to say 13 Lives, I just thought was so great. And I did an
thank you.
interview with Vigo,
Yeah.
who was so all into this.
Totally.
And he said all of you
Yeah.
were dedicated beyond the page.
Vigo's an extraordinarily committed actor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, does he do the homework? Does he do the homework? Yeah, it was him initially that was saying to Ron, look, let us do all the diving. Because Ron at the start said, you know, we'll have a whole team of divers and we'll just kind of, you know, we'll do kind of close-ups on you guys. And then it didn't fucking work out that way at all. Like, I spent about 50% of the shoot in the tanks, which was amazing, to be honest. It was just another one of those things, man, that sometimes you get to do if you're as lucky as I've been over 20 years, where you get to experience something you would never experience, you know. And I got to spend time with the guys who were there, Jason Mallinson and Rick Stanton.
Rick
Stanton, Jason Mallinson, who were 2 of the 4 main divers, were there for the whole shoot.
Yeah.
So they were in the tank with us, you know.
And you're playing John.
And I'm playing John Valanthan.
Yeah.
John is a dad, and he's got his own business, his work, and he was like, yeah, it sounds exciting, but I'm okay, I don't need to come. So he stayed, but John made himself very accessible to me via FaceTime, and we spent some hours via FaceTime in the wee hours of the morning in my house, him 8 hours ahead in wherever he was, Bristol, I think. And he was an amazing resource. To be able to, like, I'd literally, you know, sometimes I'd text him halfway through the day, we'd be on set and a question would come up, and I'd just be able to fire John off a text and he'd come back with an answer straight away. It was a lovely story. It was a beautiful story. I remember when it all happened in real time. I remember that footage on the news and being so moved by it. And I think the thing that Ron has shared with me, the thing that he loved most about the film was that it really was one of those brief moments in time where a collection of human beings of various different cultural origins came together to just do the right thing. Not do the right thing in the face of violence or suppressing violence, but to do the right thing in a humanitarian way that was just about saving innocent lives who were trapped in a very unfortunate situation. So it was a joy to do that, man.
It was inspiring to see the world come together like that.
Yeah, totally.
For something like that,
And that's
as
the way it
opposed to
happened.
what's going on in reality right now.
Of course,
you
absolutely. No, and that's what happened. And you know, the lives of the kids were so on the line, and they didn't think they were going to get them all out. I mean, they really, really did not believe. Wow. They really did not believe that they were going to get them all out. I think they might have thought maybe, if we're lucky, 3 or 4, but there's going to be some, you know, and geez, I could tear up thinking about it. They got them all out. You know, there was one death, sadly. One of the Navy SEAL divers lost his life. So that was the unfortunate collateral loss of life there. But yeah, it was an amazing story to be part of, you know. And it's a world that's very cynical as well. And it's so boring how fractured we are. And we were talking about it earlier. And the things we do to each other as a species, you know. So that was the beautiful thing at the center of that story.
Power of film to bring that.
Yeah,
to
totally.
people.
That's the way I experience it. As I
All
said,
of these, you know, these kinds of things that you're able to do as an actor.
Well, it's great because I don't really, you know, I experience whatever experience in film, I experience it on the inside as being part of bringing a story to life, you know, and that's very humbling at times in itself. I don't, when I see my own stuff, I don't experience it but I have, look, every other film that's made in a year outside the two, I might be part of to be moved by. And I go back to that thing that I've been a fan of film for. You know, loving film as a fan is much more important to me than making it as an actor.
You were inspired, I heard, by Henry Thomas in E.T.
Yeah.
Is that what made you want to be an actor?
No, well, everything. You kind of, I don't know, you can't, it's hard to, you know, the way it's hard to separate moments or slivers of inspiration and how they all kind of collide to inspire you to take a step in a certain direction. But there's no doubt it was the first film I saw E.T. in the cinema, and I wept uncontrollably and I laughed at times, and it stayed with me very much to this day. It was one of my kids' favorite films as well, E.T. You know, so it transcends the generational divides. But it certainly played a part, yeah, absolutely.
You actually went on to work with
I went on to work
Spielberg.
with Spielberg, and I'll never forget meeting him for the first time.
Minority Report.
Oh my God, he was shooting. What was he shooting when I met him? I think he was shooting AI, actually. I think he was shooting AI, and he was busy boy, and I went out. Matt Damon was supposed to do the part of, what was the character's name? Danny Whitmer? It was. So Matt Damon was playing Danny Whitmer, but I think Matt was busy on something else or something, so I got a call and I said, go out and meet Steven Spielberg, he's shooting this thing. And I went into I was sitting in his trailer, brown trousers, man. I was so nervous. And then he came in and we shared a sardine sandwich. we shared a sardine sandwich, which even that alone, I swear to God, like don't get me wrong, I would have been disappointed if the film didn't work out, but just to share a sardine sandwich with Steven Spielberg was pretty cool. I was 23.
Well, he's around this Oscar season.
I know,
too.
I've seen him. I bumped into him at the National Board of Review in New York. It's great to see him. I bumped into him and his missus, Kate.
Yeah, you've worked with so many iconic directors in your career. I mean, when you look at Oliver Stone and Michael Mann and Woody Allen, and you just go down the list here of everyone, that very important to you.
Very much so.
And of course, Martin McDonagh.
And working with Oliver Stone was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. And I've spoken about Alexander, the film, at times, and I think it has seemed at times that I've spoken about it in a negative way. And I may have, but anytime I've spoken about it and how tricky I found that time when the film came out, if I didn't articulate it, I'd like to just take this chance to genuinely say it was about the response to the film. The actual film itself, certainly the process of doing it, was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life and remains that to this day. And the film itself, I would do all over again. I'm very proud of being a part of it. It was the response to it at the time, to like a 25-year-old brain that was weird for me to kind of go, oh shit, oh my God, what am I part of? And do I need to apologize to every single person who's seen it and all that kind of stuff?
God.
But I had an extraordinary time working with Oliver, and he's one of the great artists in the history of American cinema, or global cinema, you know.
And clearly Martin McDonagh.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's not a bad guy, right?
He's all right. Martin, I love him.
Yeah, well, In Bruges and then Seven Psychopaths and now Banshees of Inisherin, you clearly have a working relationship, actor-director, that, you know, in film history we've seen those. James Stewart, Cary Grant with Hitchcock repeatedly and things like that. What is it about Martin McDonagh and this particular film that was special for you?
I suppose the most obvious thing that was special for me was to go home and make it.
Back to Ireland.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to people that said it's the most Irish film ever made, and could it be any more Irish? And it's so Irish, and isn't it? But I think obviously, of course, there are universal themes at its centre, which people, regardless of where they're from, seem to be drawn to and affected by, emotionally affected by. I know some people are finding it that it's at the end of the film that they're drained, that they've been taken on an emotional journey, because it's quite brutal stuff as well. There's an awful lot of sadness and loneliness at the core of Banshees, and I say that not to say that that's what the film is about, but when I read it even, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, fuck, that's going to be... I found it so sad and hilarious, it turns, and that's what McDonagh does. But I think the most important, or the most beautiful thing about this one was getting to work with Martin, of course, again, getting to work with Brendan again.
Right.
You know, getting the band back together in that way was so exciting for me. It was just the idea of it was thrilling. And then getting to do that at home on the island I'm from with a bunch of crew. I didn't know who was going to be part of the crew, but when we arrived there out on the west coast, before we took the boat, all of us together, to go over to Inishmore, which is the biggest of the 3 Aran Islands, and that's where we started shooting. When I saw hair and makeup, you know, and the wardrobe, you know, Emer and everyone, there was some people there I hadn't seen in 20 years, and it was so just beautiful to get to go home and kind of just reconnect with people that I had worked with a long time ago when life was very different for us all. Not just saying it, for us all. Some had babies, some had marriages, some marriages had failed, blah, blah. And so our lives were very different. But then at the core of our interactions was some kind of recognition, some kind of familiarity that was really beautiful to be around. And I think the making of the film, again, I know based on what some of the crew members had said to me, it brought up a lot of stuff for a lot of us. You know, you didn't feel like, sometimes you feel like there's the actors and the director, there's cinematographer, perhaps cameraman and stuff, and then there's everyone else a little bit. Sometimes you can feel that way, and ideally it would never be that way. And it's not always that way either, but this experience, universal as it may be, some of the themes in the film, it is very Irish. The accents were Irish, the look was Irish, it was set in Ireland, and I think that it brought us all together in a way, genuinely, every single department, from set design, from production design, as I said, wardrobe, makeup, props, everyone was together kind of on the same page, and we were all willing the film into being, and we had a really, really kind of just solid emotional experience together over 8 weeks on the west coast of Ireland that summer last year. So that's why all this stuff is kind of like, it's magic, all this stuff, and it's beautiful, but it's more magic and beautiful than I would imagine it would be if I didn't have such a kind of a profound experience in making the film with the people that I got to make it with, you know?
Exactly,
Genuine.
you know, and the animals you got to make it with. I loved your Golden Globe speech where you thanked them, you know, Jenny, the donkey, and the border collie, and then sort of the horse, but you said... And
Minnie the horse,
I love the way you said that. And the horse.
Yeah, Minnie. I mean, I don't know how happy I'd be if I had a carriage stuck to my arse as well, do you know what I mean? And a bunch of actors asking you back to one. The horse doesn't understand the nature of back to one, back to first position. But no, I love working with animals, man, because they're honest, you know what I mean? And that's why people say, you know, don't work with animals or children, because they're harder to control than grown-ups. Oftentimes, not even hard to control, but they're more instinctual, more honest, and so you never know what the fuck's going to happen or where the donkey's going to go. Or there's like, cut! Oh God, here we go again. Where's the bring the trainer in, and we go. But you got to go with it. It's wonderful that they take control of the scene and the space, and you have to work off them. So you kind of get you out of your own way. You know? That
is, and I remember when we were doing a Q&A with Martin.
Yeah,
he said something I thought was so funny, you know, because people are going, "Why'd you?" Spoiler alert, okay, the donkey doesn't live towards the end.
Doesn't make it.
So he says, why not? You know, he thought it was funny. You know, you make people love him in the first act and kill him in the third. He's got a wicked sense of humor.
He's got a wicked sense of humor. He really does. He's really... Funny thing is, like, people see his films and they think he must be dark.
Yeah.
And he's not. He's like, you've met him a number of times. He's so light and he's so affable. And but man, he is twisted too.
Really which must be fun. You get a script from him, you never know what you're
no, you get a script from Martin, like it's happened 3 times now. And the first time I didn't have any context when I got in Bruges. I hadn't seen Six Shooter. I knew he was an extraordinary playwright, but I did, you know, I read it and I fell in love with it. But after that, when I got Seven Psychopaths, and then even more so after so many years, and I knew Brendan was involved, when I got the script for the Banshees of Inisherin, the kettle went on. I made sure the seat was just right, and then it's page 1. I was very excited. I was also very nervous,
Right.
because what if I didn't like it? Which I couldn't imagine that happening,
Right.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But a little bit of me felt a little bit of fear about what if I'm not drawn to it.
Because he basically wrote it for you and.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But of course, I just loved it page to page.
He's
Yeah.
such an interesting character too. How do you play boring?
Brendan?
He's supposed to be boring.
All right, yeah.
But I just thought he was. I didn't think he was boring.
Cool.
Like in that context. I thought he was.
It wasn't boring to play. I don't know that there's such a thing as boring. Do you know what I mean? I really don't, man. I honest to God, I don't.
I know.
I don't think there is. I think there are people that bore me.
Right.
I think there are people I will bore. They may be watching us now. I think there's no, but I do. I think there's someone for everyone to love and someone to be loved by.
Yeah.
There are people that, as I said, will bore me. People that bore, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. But I don't think there is any objectively boring. It's impossible for there to be an actual boring human being.
Yeah.
The stories that we have are too complex. The lives that we live are too mixed with meaning and lack of, and pain and joy, and our stories and our lineages. So it's impossible. So I know he's called dull and stuff, but I mean, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, right?
that
He's
may
not,
be,
but that's
but-
okay. Like, that's okay.
When he says, "I don't want to be your friend anymore," I mean, that's a
Crushing.
devastating
Yeah.
thing to hear.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do, we sometimes we see the best of ourselves in the eyes of those who love us. And so that was certainly the case with Pádraig. And he definitely, I think, probably always leaned into his friendship with Colin more than Colin leaned into the friendship with him. And maybe I'm wrong. Brenda could answer that question, of course. But yeah, it's crushing. And when people heard of the plot, like friends of mine, that when they knew I was doing it, they said, "What's the new one about?" And I said, "Well, it's about one fella telling another fella he doesn't want to be his friend anymore." And then they said, "Yeah, and what else?" And I was that's kind of it. I mean, a lot of stuff happens after that, but that's the story really, and the disintegration of their friendship and how it goes out into the community. But for Martin to take something that on the page seems like you shouldn't be able to wring 90 minutes or 120 minutes out of it, and to make it so detailed and so profound, again, I say, not as a film goer, but as a reader and somebody who was a part of telling the story, he's an extraordinary storyteller. That's the bottom line. He's an extraordinary storyteller, Martin, and his imagination is incredibly potent, but how he articulates that imagination with great character detail and moments that are at turns hilarious and macabre, and then so moving in their sensitivity and their vulnerability, Yeah. It was an absolute joy.
It's amazing. Sometimes you get roles like these, 1, 2, 3 that you get to play, and then your career changes. You go like, what am I going to do to match that? Yeah, that's what.
Don't get me wrong now. I don't mean to be too glib with that, because I have thought like, Jesus, I've had a fairly solid run of it, but I've also had unsolid runs and solid runs, and it's all over the place, and there's so little within your control, about how it's an act of kind of refusal in the face of improbability any time a film comes together. There's so many moving parts, there's so many people behind and in front of the camera, and good fortune really has to also smile its graces upon you. And so I mean, I don't know what's next. I'm lucky I have the Penguin, because I believe it's really it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's also on the page. As I said, I've read the 5 scripts that they've already done out of 8, and it's really good stuff. So I'm glad to be still working, Pete, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're still working.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for joining us
Thanks
here
for
on
having
the
me.
Actors Side.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks.